All right, guys, welcome back. Fantasy Gurus here. Going to bring you some top 5 buy low running backs that I'm going to be targeting this week. Got a couple of hidden gems in there. So before I get right into anything, quick update. Recently got let go of my full-time job, and it was due to lack of productivity. And I think it's fair, right? Because I spent all of my time doing stuff like this rather than working. So I'd like to be able to do this full time and post many videos weekly, a lot more consistently than I'm doing now. So please, if you like this content, subscribe, like. It'll really help me out, help me support, and I'll support you. Any comments that you guys leave, I will get back. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Top 5 running backs going into week 5 buy low. Number 1 that's going to be on my list here is Breece Hall, and he's been on my list for the last couple of weeks. So nothing's changed. To me, just getting stronger and stronger, and his value is going up every single week. Pretty soon you're not going to be able to get him. But coming off of 14.8 fantasy points, best performance of the season, he outtouched Carter 17-9 in rush attempts. So from there, he's getting total of 46.6 fantasy points through the first 4 weeks, and averaging 9.5 attempts, 78 total yards, touchdown. He's got 2 now, and about 11.6 fantasy points per week. Running back 19 on the season so far. But, his skill set, his ability was never the question. It was more so about his usage. And like I talked about Carter, he outtouched him 17-9, and his snap count 66% versus Carter's 44%. So now we're seeing that trend where his snap count's continuously going up week after week, and Carter's is going down. That's why I'm buying him. On the season, he's got 37 carries. I think Carter has 36. But most of Hall's carries came in the last 2 weeks. So we've seen a major uptick on that. And like I said, his targets also, he's got 27, averaging 6.8 targets per game, which is second in targets amongst all running backs. So that allows him to have a higher floor. Like I said, I'm buying, right? Because his talent's not in the question. It was his usage. I've been saying this for the past couple of weeks. He's a rookie. He's going to see more snaps. Wilson's back. But his involvement in the passing game is really something that intrigues me as a running back. And I think he's going to have a huge second half of the season, especially since Carter is dwindling down. So go out, buy him before it's too late. A buy low favorite of the week is going to be Joe Mixon. A lot of people have been saying this since day one. I agree. Coming off of 24 attempts, 61 yards, 4 receptions, 15.4 fantasy points. Finally got his first touchdown of the year. Like we said, it's coming. But he's running back 16 for the season with 48.5 fantasy points, 82 attempts, like you can see there. Second most amongst running backs, also has 17 receptions. That is third most, but he is tied in total touches for all players considered with Saquon. So from there, his per game averages, he's, averaging close to 20 rushes a game, 24 total touches, 85 yards. The touchdowns just have to progress, and that's what I'm banking on here. But he's getting around 20 or 12 fantasy points per game, running back 2 numbers, but he should be in the running back 1 conversation with that usage. So from there, why is he not scoring? I don't know. He is tied with Chubb for most carries inside the red zone with 16, and that's leading all back. So him and Chubb are number 1 there. And he scored that first touchdown last week, like we talked about. But his O-line is still developing. We're still giving it time. Bengals are starting to play out of their early season slump, and the touchdowns will follow. So go out and get him. Usage is off the charts. Somebody I want on my team who's definitely being undervalued, and it's not due to his usage. It's just due to the lack of touchdowns. So go out and get him. Next guy, he's been quiet thus far. I think a lot of people have written him off a little bit, but James Conner, okay, coming off of 9.2 fantasy points, very underwhelming performance. On the season, he's got 3.2 yards per carry. That's a concern for me. He looks all right, but you don't really draft him for yards, you're drafting him for touchdowns. But he only has one through the entire season thus far, which is very underwhelming. He's got 36.5 fantasy points. Right now, he's ranked running back 32 on the season. Yeah, he had an injury. But we knew he was going to experience a touchdown regression. He had 18 touchdowns last year. And, only having one going into week 5, that's surprising, but something I expect to change. He's absolutely unchallenged at the goal line other than Kyler Murray. He's got 5 attempts inside the 5. Next closest running back is Darrell Williams, and he has 1, and he happened to score a touchdown on that. But the good news is while we're waiting for the touchdowns to happen, he's being featured a lot more in the passing game, a lot more. Already with 13 receptions through the 4 games, averaging a little bit over 3 catches per game. But he's on pace to set a career high when it comes to receptions and targets and hopefully yards. He did that in Pittsburgh his second year, catching I think it was around 55 balls and close to 500 yards. So that is keeping his floor up, something that we didn't see last season. But the Cardinals will figure it out, right? They're struggling to put up points, but when they do figure that out, expect Connor to be the sole beneficiary, at least amongst running backs, to receive those touchdowns. And again, that's why we're drafting him. But his value is just very, very low right now. The usage is there. Like I said, there's nobody to challenge him, especially around the goal line. His involvement in the passing game is a plus. And it helps offset those games when he doesn't score a touchdown. But I expect a couple of 20-plus point performances, multi-touchdown games for him, and a solid running back, too, for the rest of the season. My favorite buy low of the week is Devin Singletary. Yeah, Devin Singletary. And coming off of 9.6 fantasy points, a little bit underwhelming. But last 2 weeks, though, he's been out there for 80.5% of the snaps. So he's clearly taken over that backfield. No James White, no Zach Moss. He's sitting at running back 26. But, he's not just doing the running. It's his involvement in the passing game, which intrigues me. He's got 17 receptions on the season, which is 5th most out of all running backs. And, he's still probably going to get those 8 to 10 rushing attempts a game. But his receiving out of the backfield is what's keeping his floor high. On a weekly basis, and why I'm really targeting him. Now, as far as touchdowns go, in the red zone, he has, the most red zone carries for the team with 5, only outside of Josh Allen, who has 10. I expect that trend to continue. But 4 receptions also inside of the 20, which is tied first amongst all running backs. So he is heavily involved in the red zone. I expect those touchdowns to come, especially being on that Bills offense. But I'm buying because that usage is there now. He's overtaken that backfield. No competition there as far as at least what we've seen the past 2 weeks. And since he's done that, he's averaging, that 10 attempts, close to 7 receiving receptions, 93 total yards, and 14.6 fantasy points. So, we've seen this before from him too, when he's gotten these opportunities. Let's rewind to last season, when they let him loose. That was the final 4 games of the regular season and then 2 postseason games. And these numbers, when he got that opportunity, put up monster numbers. Over that 6-game span, averages 17 attempts. He had 90 yards and was scoring a touchdown and a half. So he was averaging 19.5 fantasy points per game. Over those 6 games. Now, he scored a touchdown in all 6 of those games. 3 of those games, he had multi-touchdowns and ended with 9 total touchdowns in that span. So those are monster RB1 numbers. Being on the Bills offense, huge buying point for me. I want a piece of this Bills offense, as well as the increase of usage for him. And, what he did with that usage last year, I expect him to do it again this year. And he's somebody that I'm looking to go out, add, or trade for in all formats, especially PPR, half PPR, but do it ASAP. This is something that he coming off of 9.5 points, but that's not going to happen much more. So go out and get him while you can. Last one on my list, somebody I'm not giving up on. Hopefully it doesn't make me look stupid, but I drafted him in a majority of my leagues, and it's Alvin Kamara, okay? Very underwhelming thus far. He's averaging 6.2 fantasy points. Obviously missed 2 games due to injury out of those 4, but his trade value is just at an all-time low. It's ridiculous. He's being ranked similar to like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Somebody mentioned on one of these to go out and trade Tony Pollard for Kamara. Like, nobody's doing that. Whoever wrote that, you need to stop writing, because nobody is going to do that. His trade value is not that low. But with that being said, he's being valued as like a top 11 to 15 running back right now, so outside of the top 10. But he's going to suit up this week. He 100% is going to. They wouldn't have let Murray go if he wasn't, so he will be out there despite the rumors. I'm buying him for that running back 1 upside. He's still Alvin Kamara, and his value is just so low right now. He's one of the most talented running backs when he is healthy, and Ingram is going to be around, but he's not going to push for those touches. Ingram's had his chance. He doesn't look that great. So he's not going to be in competition with Ingram there. He's got 11 targets through the 2 games that he has played in, which is really good. Only 5 catches, though. So I expect those numbers to go up. And, if you want to see what he did with Winston last year, feel free to look at my previous videos. I break down very in-depth, his couple of games that he had with Winston last year. He was averaging monster numbers. It was around like 19 fantasy points per game. But I don't expect him to put up those exact numbers, but he can float. He can definitely float with them. But again, his value is at an all-time low. The fantasy owners are frustrated. He's been underwhelming in those 2 games, but he has that high upside RB1 potential, and you do not have to go out and put up big players to get him. So a lot of people are writing him off. A lot of people are frustrated with him, and I've had enough. So go out and take advantage of that opportunity. Those are my top 5 there. Other ones to consider, which I'd be trading for as well, is going to be A.J. Dillon, Dalvin Cook. I didn't add those because, everybody's pretty much talking about them. They're good buy lows. Just Google it, and you'll find out info on them. I wanted to provide a different perspective on some of these players, not just the same ones that the experts are saying. But other than that, I hope you found this useful. Go out and get those players ASAP. But please, now that I'm unemployed, if you like these, like and subscribe. It'll really, really help me. Leave a comment. I'll get back to you. But since I have all the time in the world now, I'm going to be posting a lot more. So, feel free to comment, or, anything that you'd like to see personally or me talk about, I'll go ahead and do it. So other than that, just stay tuned to my next video.